Hi, you're listening to the sermon recording podcast of Awaken Church. Awaken is a church of missional communities whose vision is to see individuals experience healing through the gospel, be raised to their fullest potential among community, and sent out to live a life on mission. You can find out more online at awakenvb.com. And if you live in Hampton Roads, we invite you to check out our worship gathering in the Haygood area of Virginia Beach Saturday evenings at 5 p.m. Thank you for listening.
All right. Pardon my hearty cup full of water. I did say I was sick earlier this week. Now I'm just really dried out. So I'm going to do my best to be loud enough and talk loud enough as we go. As is my custom, I haven't done this in a little bit, and I am always nervous when I do this. So so if you'll bear with me and participate, we're gonna continue in our series. It's called The Way. We're exploring leading up to our Easter gathering, Jesus, his ministry. Heather explored the prophecies of Jesus and what the difference between just waiting and waiting in a prepared space. I'm gonna talk a little bit tonight about some of the things that Jesus said, and then we're gonna explore this in the next two gatherings as well as we lead up to our Easter gathering. So looking forward to that. I had a great, really great icebreaker question that I thought of 2 weeks ago when I was thinking of an idea for this message, but it no longer fits what I'm talking about, and I'm still hoping to maybe do that one day. So I'm gonna hold that question. And so I was just spending my time looking up questions, and I found one that applies not. So what is the most gimmicky homeware appliance you own? We're talking like QVC slap chop level. I woke up at 3 a.m. and had to have this item. We actually own a slap chop. So, well, I guess we'll get started. That has nothing to do with anything. I just found it, thought it was fun. So like I said, we're continuing with our series where we're looking at the story of Jesus. Tonight we're gonna look at some parts of Jesus' ministry, and hopefully look at what they mean for us now. I want to explore 4 passages together. And then as we do, I want you to keep in mind 2 questions. We're going to answer these 2 questions after we read each, not after we read all the passages, but after we read each individual passage. We're going to answer these 2 questions together. First, who is Jesus talking to? And second, how is Jesus responding? Like, we're going to talk about tone. We're going to talk about what the words are used, okay? And so I want to start in John 8, 52. It says, the Jewish opposition said to Jesus, now we know that you have a demon. Abraham and the prophets died, yet you say, whoever keeps my word will never die. Are you greater than our father Abraham? He died and the prophets died. So who do you make yourself out to be? Jesus answered, if I glorify myself, my glory is meaningless. My Father, who you say is your God, is the only one who glorifies me. You don't know him, but I do. If I said I didn't know him, I would be like you, a liar. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham was overjoyed that he would see my day. He saw it and was happy. You aren't even 50 years old, the Jewish opposition replied. How can you say that you have seen Abraham? I assure you, Jesus replied, before Abraham was I am. So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus had hid himself and left the temple. All right, so our 2 questions. Who is Jesus talking to? The Jewish opposition. Any idea on who that normally is? Okay. Yeah. Generally speaking, yes, the Jewish opposition is likely a combination of Pharisees, Sadducees, and other ranked members of the community. All right. And how is Jesus responding in this instance? Yeah. For me, reading through this, keep in mind the context. This is verse. We started at verse 52 of this chapter, right? This chapter, this is the last little bit of one continuous conversation with the same people. So if you read John 8, it's basically one continuous, and it's cyclical. They're having the same fight over and over. And throughout each time, Jesus responds calmly but with authority, challenging them directly, while they escalate to the point where we see even to the point of violence here at the end. And so it's important to note that throughout Jesus' ministry, you can note that he was often at odds with temple leaders, with Pharisees. Like you, when you expressed, yeah, oh, it's the Jew. Obviously, it's the Pharisees. Like there is a narrative. There's a narrative where the primary opposition to Jesus' ministry were the Pharisees. But that's where I want to move on to move back. We're going to move to John 3. There was a Pharisee named Nicodemus, a Jewish leader. He came to Jesus at night. He said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God. For no one could do these miraculous signs that you do unless God is with him. Jesus answered, I assure you, unless someone is born anew, it's not possible to see God's kingdom. Nicodemus asked, How is it possible for an adult to be born? It's impossible to enter the mother's womb for a second time and be born, isn't it? Jesus answered, I assure you, unless someone is born of water and the Spirit, it's not possible to enter God's kingdom. Whatever is born of the flesh is flesh, and whatever is born of the Spirit is spirit. Don't be surprised that I said to you, you must be born anew. God's Spirit blows wherever it wishes. You hear its sound, but you don't know where it comes from or where it's going. It's the same with everyone who is born of the Spirit. So our same questions. Who's Jesus talking to? Nicodemus, who was a Pharisee and leader in the temple. So, and how is Jesus responding to Nicodemus? Yeah, this is again, even though Nicodemus is a Pharisee and we have this idea that like he's supposed to be the foil in Jesus' ministry, this conversation carries a much different tone. Like Jesus is still straightforward, but it is you if you come looking authentically, you receive authentically. And again, this is just a small bit of that conversation. Yeah. I, I love that. Hold on to some of that for later. Um, and so we're gonna keep moving. And now we're gonna move into Matthew 21. Then Jesus went into the temple and threw out all those who were selling and buying there. He pushed over the tables used for currency exchange and the chairs of those who sold doves. He said to them, It's written, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you've made it a hideout for crooks. All right, our same question. Who's Jesus talking to right now? Yeah. It was closer to cheating than it was to like because your sacrifice had to make a certain thing, but they were charging in a way that was unfair outside for them to be able to make their sacrifices. So yeah, that's accurate. He's definitely talking to those people, but also we have to remember the context. This is an out loud shouting fest. This is probably Jesus's most one of Jesus's most notorious interactions. Like, he rolls up into the temple after arriving in Jerusalem for his final time, like the Jesus final tour. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here, and flip some tables. And um this is a what he says here is a scripture that not only would he have been talking to the people actually changing, he would have been talking to anyone who heard him, who knew their scriptures. This comes out of Jeremiah. And so anybody with history, and so anybody hearing him on the inside of the temple also knows that, hey, this is a warning, right? This is, I'm here now. Here's your warning. Um, yeah. And so finally, I want to go to Luke 19. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through town. A man there named Zacchaeus, a ruler among tax collectors, was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he couldn't because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore tree so he could see Jesus, who was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to that spot, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down at once. I must stay in your home today." So Zacchaeus came down at once, happy to welcome Jesus. Everyone who saw this grumbled, saying, "He is gone to be the guest of a sinner." Zacchaeus stopped and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I cheated anyone, I repay them 4 times as much." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this household, because he too is a son of Abraham. The human one came to seek and save the lost." Our first question, this one has 2 answers. Who's he talking to first? Zacchaeus. Who's he talking to second? Grumblers, everybody nearby. Hey, this is what we do now. So yeah, Jesus starts by talking to Zacchaeus to invite and incite Zacchaeus's hospitality, right? Like, hey, hey, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house. Like, it's an offer. Jesus meets Zacchaeus at his tree where he is, and then informs him, "Hey, I'm coming to spend time with you." Uh, but like makes really no claim on him or anything. Doesn't ask him for anything at this point. And that second is a rejoicing response to the criticism and the status that gets assigned to Zacchaeus. Like, all of the people around were assigning Zacchaeus this status as a sinner, as someone second hand, as someone not valuable enough for someone as important as Jesus spend time with. And Jesus answers that with a rejoicing and saying, "Here's who I've come to see and save." And so throughout Jesus' ministry, we see him speaking to people, like, this is just 4 examples. We see him speaking to people throughout his ministry in the perfect way. Like, Jesus meets those that would ask authentic questions with a really gentle sensitivity, while meeting the hypocrisy of those who would trap him with a calm logic, but also the willingness to flip some tables if necessary. And we see this throughout the ministry. All that's great. Jesus is cool. What's the point? I started putting together a different message when I started looking at this stuff. And the more and more I tried to work on that message, the harder and harder it got. And I was talking to Jeff, and Kelly was in the room when I was talking about it. I was working hard throughout a lot of this week trying to figure out why I couldn't put together the message that I wanted to put together. And it's because I'm sitting and struggling with some stuff. And so that's where I want our discussion to end up today. Is I'm gonna open up our question in just a minute. But all, like, all my church life, and like I was raised in church, all my church life, I've been told to be more like Christ, right? We hear it, like even we say it, and it's an important thing, right? With me being told that, with that mandate, there were a few things that I was specifically told to do, and some specific things that I was told not to do. But generally speaking, by and large, whenever I heard growing up and coming through church, whenever I heard be more like Christ, it was a vague and spiritually sound way to tell me to behave. Recently, with what has happening in the general sense, what's going on in the general sense, and also in a lot of my relationships, uh, and my networks, it feels like that call needs to be more than a call to behavior, and like there's a responsibility that I was never taught. That being like Christ might include speaking like Christ, meeting the people meeting the people who are asking authentic questions and coming with her with gentleness, and meeting hypocrisy vocally, calmly, but with a willingness to flip some tables. And so that's where I want to spend our discussion question. That's that question, our discussion question tonight. It's just one. Well, it's two questions, but they're paired. How does knowing the ways Jesus spoke in different situations challenge you as an individual? And how should it challenge or change us as a community? And like I said, I'm struggling. I don't have answers for this one. So shoot your shot. Yeah. Immediately after that happens, he is healing people in that same space. Right. So like we go from angry flipping tables and running people out who are actively uh, hurting God's people, to healing the people who are getting overlooked. Like we did that in the same breath in that story, giving them that giving them that space to say out loud that there's something that they feel, but giving them that space no matter how messy it comes out. Right? That I know you were with them. I said, giving them that space to express that there's something that they feel strongly about, but giving them that space to express it no matter how messy it is. In some of those instances, I think it's important to remember that it all depends on the relationship and where that person is and what that expectation is, right? And so like Jesus is meeting people and is holding them accountable for their actions. The woman at the well, right? Or the woman at the well, he meets a woman at the well. She says, "I have no husband," and he is like, "Yeah, you're right. You don't. You're with this guy. You got like," and they have this interaction, and never once in that conversation does Jesus back down from the truth. But never once in that conversation does, that I can tell, he make her feel second class, or make her feel like anything other than a person that God loved, right? Um, and so, like, we see, I just pulled 4 passages of Jesus talking with people, right? And the conversation with Nicodemus goes on, and it's like it's academic, um, but it's also like thoughtful, right? Uh, Nicodemus is asking authentic questions, and Jesus is not being cryptic, giving authentic answers. But the passage before that, where he's challenging in John 8, that is again the end of a conversation that goes around and around and around, where Jesus is over and over answering their questions with something cryptic and then implying to their faces that they have no idea who God is. Right? Like offering those challenges directly to them based on their actions and their love of themselves, right? Um, and so yeah, I like I said, why I don't have anything written after this question, right? Because I said I didn't have answers. This is the stuff I'm sitting on right now. Things are up in the air for a lot of people that I love and care about, and there are a lot of people that I love and care about and have respect for that feel like that's okay. And so I offer in closing of this, it's part of my personality, it's part of my fivefold. I'm a prophet in my nature. I'm generally all pent up with righteous anger and wanting to say stuff to people and doing all of that. But again, I was raised to behave, right? And so I would offer that I think that a lot of us right now are sharing a similar vibe where there are lots of things that we don't know what to do about, right? I don't know how I can help a lot of what's going on right now, but I know people that I can talk. I know people that I can have academic conversations with, in a loving and safe fashion that we might not come out agreeing, but we'll come out with mutual love and respect and care for each other. I know that there are gonna be opportunities where I'm in a room full of people that are saying one thing that I don't ascribe to, and I am gonna try and do better about having the guts to stand up and say, "Hey, that's not what's up," right? There are gonna be times where I'm gonna be meeting people that are hurting or scared or in a much more vulnerable position than I will ever be in. How am I needing them, right? And so, uh, again, I didn't have anything written down after this because, like, this is vulnerable and open, messy me. Like, I I'm sitting here struggling actively with you guys through it. So, I guess I'll pray in just a minute, but if we can also remind each other that we bear with each other in these moments too. All right? I'll pray and our worship band is gonna come back. Holy God, thank you for the hearts and minds and the joy and aching in this room. Help us to uh acknowledge what we're feeling. Help us to acknowledge how we're coming to the table. Help us to acknowledge uh where we are bringing hurt from and where we're bringing celebration from, and help us to bear with each other in those moments so we can make it, if it doesn't feel lighter, at least it doesn't feel alone. Be with us as we care for each other. Be with us as we care for our communities and our workplaces. Be with us as we care for our neighbors. Um, be with us as we care for the people we meet in our elevators. Help us to not only be more like you in our behavior, but also be more like you and grow more like you in our action and in our words and how we love people and how we care for people. Help us to pick the people up and love the people that need love and care for, and help us to be a part of the places that are finding the things standing in your kingdom's way, and help us to be a people that says no and works to remove and destroy those. Be with us as we set out for our weeks. Keep us safe. Bring us health if it's your will, that we can best serve you and your people. Amen.